One health exam Group 12, Avian Influenza. Since June 2017, 5 provinces has lost more than 4.2 million birds that were culled or reported dead, and many jobs were lost. Poultry products are declining and exports have been banned, resulting in a loss of more than 954 million rand after millions of birds were culled across South Africa in the worst bird flu outbreak this country has ever seen. But let's just backtrack for a moment. How did this disease end up scaling to this magnitude on a continent where it did not even originate from? Avian influenza type 1, better known as bird flu, is a virus of the Orthomyxoviridae family, hosted primarily by birds, but it may infect several species of mammals, including humans. Wild water birds are asymptomatic carriers and known to spread the disease to domestic flocks, which means this disease can fly far and wide in comparison to other diseases that jump and walk.
The disease interface is set on a farm in South Africa near Villiers, situated on the border between Mpumalanga and the Free State. At a system interface, the occurrence of this highly pathogenic avian influenza strain H5N1 was a present from Europe. They have had major outbreaks in the year of 2016. The infected wild birds that serve as the reservoir for this disease then fly via the migratory routes to the Western Cape in South Africa. During their stay, they contaminate the environment and have direct contact with our local wild water birds, which will now be infected. Our locally infected wild birds are now the primary source for an outbreak.
At a species interface, the broiler farm in Villiers is close proximal to the Vaal River, which has an abundant dense population of wild water birds. With open access to the farm by air, regular movement of personnel, as well as possible direct contact, these locally infected wild water birds can become the source of infection. Thus, the biosecurity is lacked. The infection can spread like a wildfire to the isolated broilers.
There are 2 types of avian flu, a low and a high pathogenic avian influenza. HPAI can kill large numbers of poultry and spreads very quickly. 1 gram of poultry manure can harbor enough virus to affect 1 million birds. Under ideal conditions, cool and damp, the virus can survive for up to 2 weeks in manure. In cool water, it can survive up to several months. HPAI can be spread between birds by direct contact or indirectly from contact with the droppings of infected birds and respiratory secretions. The virus can remain viable at moderate temperatures, so it can also be spread by water, egg flats, crates, equipment, vehicles, and people whose clothing or shoes have come into contact with the virus.
There are many strains of bird flu, of which H5N1 is the first strain to infect humans. Our example in SA with the H5N8 strain had no confirmed illness in people, but strict surveillance is necessary. DNA mutations are possible and different modes of transmission may evolve. The NICD recommends that any person with a cough, fever, sore throat, runny nose, difficulty in breathing, muscle aches or conjunctivitis with a documented exposure or worked at a poultry house before symptoms started must be tested. Transmission to humans at the human-animal interface is through contact with infected bird feces, nasal secretions or secretions from the mouth or eyes. Consuming properly cooked poultry or eggs from infected birds doesn't transmit the flu. Meat is considered safe if it has been cooked to an internal temperature of 73.9 degrees Celsius.
Other potential target interfaces include: drivers of influence at the following interfaces include: wild bird to wild bird. Europe has aquatic migratory birds that commingle with other local birds. Wild bird to domestic poultry, movement of birds through the country, live bird markets, and high seasonal occurrence during the winter. Poultry to environment, illegal trading, transport or slaughtering operations. Human to human, none yet, but a possible emerging disease. Environment to human, environments contaminated by manure and people are within this environment. Poultry to pig, virus in pigs resembles the strain from nearby outbreaks. Infected pigs show no symptoms. Poultry to horse, type A can infect horses but highly unlikely. Poultry to pet, H5N1 has experimentally infected the pets, but cats are more susceptible than dogs. During an outbreak, borders must be well monitored and controlled to prevent smuggling of chicken or birds of unknown status. Avoid importing from countries with a history of HPAI outbreak. Ensure proper monitoring of water bodies to prevent migratory birds from contaminating the environment or infecting our local wild bird populations.
During an outbreak, quarantine the farm immediately. All birds will be culled. The farm will then go through a careful disinfecting process. In more or less 6 months, the farm can be refilled. Chlorinated water is recommended if open sources of water are used on the farm which can be contaminated from wild birds. The sale of live hens will be banned, as in the case of SA across the whole country. Vaccinations not recommended. It affects export. SA halted any research activities involving handling of seabirds as from the 23rd of March 2018. In terms of export and trading, report to the WHO. Importing partners have the right to ban imports. We have a system called compartments. In summary, the main stakeholders are the following, including health authorities, state vets, members within the community.
Negative health-related interactions include infected host has clinical signs that lead to death. And this is mainly a vasculitis. At the species level, there is a spread of the disease between multiple species. If one species is eliminated, it can spread to another. At a system level, the community is upset with the government officials because of disease outbreak. The environment is contaminated, export and trading is affected, and food availability and security is affected. There is an increase in interest in this virus as it is of zoonotic importance, especially with the virus's capacity to evolve and change at alarming rates. Thank you. One Health Exam Group 12, Avian Influenza. Since June 2017,